Hey there, Melheads, Flying V here, and today I'm going to review the Sony PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 was Sony's third home video game console, released in November of 2006 in Japan and North America, and March of 2007 in Europe. The console has just ceased production, selling 83.8 million units worldwide, which also makes it the fifth most successful game console ever produced. The PS3 has a library of approximately 1,500 games and has a variety of accessories. The console also does have very good media functions, like, of course, it's also good for like an all-purpose device. You can use Netflix on it, you can use Hulu on it, you can use Amazon Prime and all that. You can play Blu-rays on it, you can play DVDs on it. I believe you can play CDs on it. And of course, on certain models it'll play PS1 and PS2 games, but on most models it'll only play PS1 games. So, with that being said, the PS3's success story didn't start until much later in its life, because when it launched, you had two models of the PS3. You had a 20 gigabyte hard drive model and a 60 gigabyte hard drive model. They both looked like this. They both had a little flap here that you could flip up, and then you'd have extra ports here. They both had 4 USB ports and all of the features I mentioned previously. Well, actually, the 20 gigabyte PS3 had no Wi-Fi. The 60 gigabyte PS3 did. Now, the PS3, when it launched, both versions were both $550 for the 20 gigabyte model and $600 for the 60 gigabyte model. So, because of its absurd price tag, people didn't really buy it initially because it was too expensive, even though it was the cheapest Blu-ray player on the market at that time. But Sony eventually got rid of the fat model, and they stripped out a bunch of features like on the ports here. They stripped out 2 of the USB ports, and they stripped out PS2 backwards compatibility. Okay, this is a more stripped down model of the fat PS3. This is the 40 gigabyte hard drive model. If you look on the back here, this is the CECH G01. Now, of course, they also put out the PS3 Slim, and that's when they, started marketing the system more, and they started to make the console more gaming-centric and less about its media functions. Because of that, when people started buying the PS3, the PS3 had one of the biggest comebacks in video game history. And here we are now talking about it. So, enough of the history and economics. Let's get to the accessories and the features of the console itself. Okay, so first we have our little power switch here. Your eject switch. You have a little rotatable PlayStation logo, so you can stand it up vertically, just like the PS2. As you see here, of course, it says PlayStation 3 right here, and it's written in the funky Spider-Man font. Because I believe Sony got the license to use that Spider-Man logo. I don't know for sure. On the side here, you have a little cover here that if you take off here, it'll reveal the hard drive. The hard drive is switchable. You can put a bigger hard drive in your PS3. However, do not put a solid-state hard drive in your PS3, and make sure that the hard drive is no more than 750 gigabytes, because anything more than that, the PS3's firmware will not be able to keep up with it, especially if it's like a solid-state hard drive. The PS3's firmware will constantly lock up if you put a solid-state hard drive in here, so yeah. those are just some tips for putting a hard drive in your PS3. On the back here, like the PS2, you have your main power switch, your power cord port. You have an AV multi-out port, a digital out optical audio port, an Ethernet cable port, and an HDMI port. So, yeah. Now, here's the PS3 controller. Now, there are actually two versions of the PS3 controller. There was one that just said 6-axis and had no rumble in it. Like when you shoot a gun or something, or when you take damage, the controller vibrates. Then you have the other model of the PS3 controller, which says DualShock 3, which has the rumble. Now, this was the controller that came first, the 6-axis controller. Now, initially people got fed up with Sony because they had said that the rumble is a last-gen feature. Okay, and I guess they saw that people really liked the rumble, and they were irritated that there was no rumble functionality in the PS3 controller. So they ultimately got rid of this one, and they stuck with this one. So, yeah. Now, since the controller is wireless, you will need to use a USB cable. Plug one end into your controller, plug the other end into your system. Here's the PS3 remote. This is a little accessory sold separately, so you could use it kind of like a DVD player remote. So that's cool. Now, I'm going to show you some games. We have Bloodstone 007, Burnout Paradise, and Call of Duty 3. Now, granted, those are all multiplats, but the PS3 has some really good exclusives. For example, you have the Ratchet & Clank games, you have the first 3 Uncharted's, you have God of War 3, you have 2, if not 1, of the Sly Cooper games. There's a lot of good exclusives on this console. So, for that, I recommend you pick this console up. Okay, so you might ask, is it worth owning in 2017? It totally is, okay? Get a 60GB fat PS3, because it has the PS1 and PS2 backwards compatibility and the Wi-Fi, which are the 2 most important parts of the PS3. At least that particular model. Okay? Now, you might ask, why can't I get any of the other models? Why can't I get the 20GB model? Why can't I get the 40GB model? Why can't I get the 80GB model? The 80GB PS3s are much harder to find. Well, they're not that hard to find, but once you get past a certain firmware update for the 80GB PS3s, PS2 games will no longer work on it. Okay, so get a 60GB fat PS3. Okay, because of course you have PS1 and PS2 backwards compatibility. You have the flap for the extra ports here, and you have the 4 USB ports. Now, the second thing you should know is that it's only going to be a matter of time before Sony drops PlayStation Network support for the PS3. Okay, admittedly, game production is still going, but console production has ceased. Okay, so I'm sure when game production ceases, PlayStation Network support will probably drop soon after that. So get one sooner rather than later. Okay? So that's it. Okay, so that does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. May the Force be with you. Watch hard.